Yo, what's going on, guys? It is JP here, back with another video, and today, like the title says, I'm going to be teaching you guys how to get over the silver hump in CSGO. So just a bit of backstory for you guys. I was stuck in silver for a while, and I had finally had enough of just losing all the time and being shit at CSGO. So I took the steps and actually put in a lot of effort to get better at the game, and I decided to document my progress and my methods, and I eventually figured out how to improve my game. I have a list of topics I'm going to talk about for you guys. I might do separate videos on some of these individual topics just because they're pretty broad and I can't really explain them all in one video. But right now I'm just going to go over the basics and how to improve your game and finally get over that silver hump and start playing really good Counter-Strike. So the first topic I'm going to be talking about today will be settings. Now, for settings, I recommend going into a private match game by yourself and cycling through all these options to find what is right for you. Now, the first setting I recommend fiddling with would be your sensitivity. Now that includes both your in-game sensitivity and your mouse DPI outside of the game. Now a lot of older mice don't really have an option to change your DPI, which is fine. That means you're just going to have to focus more on adjusting your in-game sense, but a standard rule of thumb to go by would be 400 DPI outside of game and 2 sensitivity in game, and then again just go to a private match, and that might be really bad option for you, but just keep fiddling with it until you find something that you're comfortable with. Again, myself, I prefer about 400 to 600 DPI, and I think I run about like 1.8 cents, which is pretty low, but I really have like a lot of space and I like having a lot of small adjustments in my aim. Now the next setting we're going to be talking about is the video settings. Now a lot of pros and Counter-Strike players like to have their video settings almost on the lowest setting possible. So that will be like your shadows, your textures, your effect detail, and your shader detail. I'm going to put a little screen grab on the screen right now just to show you guys what I usually go with. And this is like, I think I got this from another video in what most pros use. So if you guys will just want to look at that, you can adjust your settings accordingly. Again, like these settings won't work for everyone, but these are what I prefer. And there's also the topic of 16:9 versus 4:3. Now a lot of oppers will go 4:3 just because you have like a better range of view and you can like see more and you can flick quicker in like a shorter amount of time. But a lot of people do prefer 16:9 as well, just because it looks a bit cleaner and it's a bit more detailed, I suppose. But again, I would recommend you guys just try both and see what works best for you. And the same for like your aspect ratio. Everyone's is different, but I usually go stretched, and I'll put my settings again up on the screen right now. But I mean, honestly, it's like you guys have to find out what works best for you, what you're comfortable with, what you can find you can hit more shots with. And then you have a few extra settings you can mess around with, like your crosshair. I'll put a link to a map where you can like just pick your crosshair from a bunch of options. You can like mess around with keybinds if you really want to in your audio, but honestly, those things aren't quite as important as your sensitivity in your video settings. But if you are looking to change up a few more things, and obviously you can mess around with those. Now the next topic we're going to be discussing today will be your aim. Now to get better at CSGO, obviously you have to have good aim. So what I personally do to work on my aim is I go into a map called Botz, and there's lots of maps like this, but like just maps that help you work on your aim, and that'll be on screen right now, and I'll also put a link in the description to where you can get that map. Again, working on your aim also has to do with your sensitivity like I mentioned above, so I'd recommend going to a map like this and adjust your sensitivity till you can find something that's really comfortable for you. Now the next topic is going to be obviously a huge one in Counter-Strike: spray. This is really what sets apart the good players from the great players. Having a good spray in Counter-Strike is probably one of the most important things to learn, because spraying is probably the biggest learning curve in Counter-Strike, because there's no other game that really operates quite like this. Now the best thing I would recommend would be to go, again, another map. They have so much of these practice maps you guys can look at, but you basically just go into this map and it teaches you the spray controls about all the guns. And if you're really not looking to learn that much about spray and you don't want to put in that much effort, again, another rule of thumb is to just aim high and pull down slightly after about 1 second. And usually that'll help you with most guns, but if you really want to get good and put in the effort, I'd recommend going to a map and just trying these tactics out, and you'll see that it really improves your spray control. Now the next topic I'd recommend to look at is demo review. And a lot of people don't really like going back and watching like their whole demos, but this is a really important and a really good way of improving your game. Now what you should be doing is going and watching your old demos, like your old games, and just looking at yourself the whole time and looking at where you make mistakes and how to improve those mistakes and how not to make those mistakes the next game. Because learning what you're doing wrong and how to fix it is a crucial part in getting better at Counter-Strike. And another option you could do if you don't want to go back and watch your old games is just watch some pros play. So I would go like watch a pros demo where you're on their POV the whole time. You don't want to do like the auto broadcaster where it's switching from player to player. You want to stick with one player the whole time and just watch how he plays every single round, because every single player plays a round a different way and they have these tendencies that they do. You know, they throw a flash at the beginning of the game every time, so you just want to focus on one player and learn how they play. Now obviously the pro scene is a lot different than silver in the way they execute and the way they go onto bomb sites and defend, so watching a pros demo review will not help you too much as of this point, especially if you're still in silver. But like if you're improving and stuff and you're out of silver, then obviously pro demo review is a really good thing to focus on. But besides that, I would definitely recommend looking at your own demos and trying to find out what you're doing wrong and how to fix it. Now another thing you can focus on in silver would be to learn utility. In the lower levels of CS, most people don't know how to use good utility. So utility would be flashes, smokes, nades, Molotovs, anything that can help you get onto a bomb site or defend a bomb site or just to get that kill. So it'd really be good to learn how to throw smokes to execute onto a bomb site, because a lot of players don't know how to deal with that in lower levels of CS, and especially if you learn how to throw good flashes, you'll catch so many players off guard. A lot of pop flashes are super effective in certain maps, so I would definitely recommend trying to figure out how those work. Again, go into a private match, just equip yourself with a bunch of nades and start throwing them places and see what some good places are. The best thing you can do with flashbangs is to have something pop into a big area of view without giving the player enough time to look away from it. Again, if you know CS, you obviously know this is the case, but a lot of people don't know that the most effective way to use a flash is when the player can only see it for a split second and then it pops, because they have no chance to turn around and get away from it, and they're just forced to look right into the flashbang. Now probably the best way to get out of silver after you've learned all these techniques would be to play with a team, because there is nothing worse than going into matchmaking and going with a team who doesn't have mics, or are trolling, or are hacking, and they just don't care. The best way to, avoid all of this would be to play with a team you know are good and you know are willing to play and try to get better with you. So the best way to find a team if you don't have like friends or anything that play the game would just be to play a few games of matchmaking. Look for the guys that actually communicate and want to get better and want to play, and just ask them to queue up. And then after the game, you guys queue up and get as much people as you can, up to 5. And that honestly is probably the best way to get out of Counter-Strike, is playing with 4 other guys that really want to get out of silver as well. Now, when you're finally getting better and you finally get out of silver, I definitely recommend guys to stay out of matchmaking. Now, nowadays, especially now that Counter-Strike is a free-to-play game, there is so many hackers, so many cheaters in matchmaking, it's almost impossible to get good while solely playing matchmaking. Now my recommendation is to download a client like esea or faceit. Probably faceit if you don't want to spend the money, because there's free faceit. And free faceit isn't always the greatest, but it's a lot better than matchmaking, let me tell you that. I'll put a link to all this stuff, guys, down in the description, including a link to faceit and esea. Faceit is a really good hub for players who want to get better, and you can play with a lot of other players that want to get better. Very little cheaters. I mean, obviously there's going to be some, but faceit is doing a lot better with their anti-cheat. So if you guys are looking to improve after you guys are out of silver, even before you're out of silver, when I say like out of silver, I recommend it because you don't want to go into faceit when you're not so great at the game, because you probably will get trash talked quite a bit. Not all players are dicks though. Some of them will try to help you, but a lot like know what they're doing and want to win. So if they are playing with an inexperienced player, they won't really enjoy it too much. But again, that's all part of the learning process, and it's something you guys are going to learn as you start to play more Counter-Strike, and you'll understand all the lingo and how everything works, and you'll finally be on your way to becoming good Counter-Strike players. So guys, that's pretty much it. If you want me to do any other videos on like how to get better at Counter-Strike, let me know. If you want to do any videos on specific topics you saw in this video, again, just comment down below and I can do that for you guys. Like I said earlier a million times, all the links that I mentioned in the video will be put down in the description below. And yeah, so hopefully you guys are on your way to becoming better Counter-Strike players, and I will catch you all later, and I will be uploading tomorrow.